In the last clip, we set up the functionality of the bicycle top-level container. Now let's populate it and see how it actually sounds. So I have my audio files once again here on the desktop. And I'm going to start by grabbing the pedaling sounds. This is just the default pedaling for pedaling on a level surface. Then I'll grab pedal uphill and use this for pedal up. And finally, I'm going to grab pedal click, and this is our initial pedal sound for pedal start. So first of all, we want to make sure that everything is set up correctly. So we want to make sure that pedal init is in continuous mode so that when it completes playing pedal start, it moves right on to bicycle alt. And of course for that, we're also going to need bicycle alt to sit here underneath pedal start. If we were to hit play now with its current state, it would simply repeatedly play pedal start, but we don't want that. We want it to move on into pedal start, into bicycle alt, and then keep its loop inside the bicycle alt container. So let's populate pedal init with bicycle alt. And we'll just make sure that these are loops of their own, and they are. Now let's try this again. So what's happening now, of course, is that bicycle alt is playing both of these random containers simultaneously. And that's not exactly how a bicycle works. Obviously, we want to be able to move seamlessly between pedal level and pedal up, not play them both together. And that's where the deeper functionality of a blend container reveals itself. So let's take a look at this blend container. You might notice this section over here called blend tracks. So let's go in there and create a new blend track. And we can call this altitude. Now for us to do anything with this altitude blend track, we're going to need something that we haven't looked at yet, and that is game sync. So let's pop over to the game syncs project explorer tab. You'll notice switches and states and triggers, and we'll look at those at another time, but for now I want you to look at game parameters. This is a very important part of the Wwise logic functionality, and this is how we control audio sounds within Wwise from signals we're getting from outside of Wwise, such as, for example, whether the player is riding on level ground or going uphill. So let's select this and we'll call it altitude. We save, bounce back over here to our blend container, and now let's take another look at our blend track. So we'll want to select crossfade, and then we're going to select that game parameter, altitude, right here. And you can see that populates this blend track here, but there's nothing in it yet. So next, we want to look at this blend tracks container over here on the right side. And just like the sequence container, this is where you're populating what goes into that blend track. So here we have altitude. This is altitude for the name of the blend track, not the parameter. And we're going to select pedal level. We're going to pop it in there, and pedal up. We're going to place that underneath like that. Now let's take another look at our blend track. And now here you see something new. These are visual representations of the audio file spread over a graph. On the left-hand side here vertically, we have the crossfade volume moving from 0 to 100%. And along the bottom, we have 0 to 100. Let's take a quick look at our game parameter, and you'll see why that is. When we select this game parameter altitude that we created, you're going to see that there is a range, minimum to maximum. By default, this is a minimum of 0, a maximum of 100, and a default of 50, which is to say that if Wwise does not receive any external input as to the current value of this game parameter, it's going to assume that it's 50. In our case, let's use 0. Moving back over to our blend container, we can spread these evenly. And this section here in the middle is where they will crossfade. So this flag here that says altitude, this is representative of our game sync value. So if we hit play now, you'll hear a really distinct but subtle change between these levels, which we can make sound a little bit more natural by even just increasing this crossfade value. Now, right now, I'm just clicking and dragging this flag to demonstrate how the value will move over that. But in order for this to blend correctly, I need that flag to move slowly, not suddenly, as if it was, say, just a value sent by a computer that goes from 20 to, say, 70 very quickly. We can mimic what that would sound like by triggering this and then using our transport control, RTPC tab, to change the value here on the fly. So you hear that sounds way less smooth and is really not the sound we're going for at all. But that's the kind of values that video games can sometimes send you. To have that happen more smoothly would take an extra amount of work for the programmer in terms of what values they're sending you. But we can actually do that work for them. Let's go back into the GameSyncs tab and take a look over here at interpolation. So interpolation is how Wwise can control the movement between values so that they're not jumping suddenly from, say, 20 to 70. So let's take slew rate. And here we can decide how many units we want to move per second on the in and on the out. In our case, we have a total value of 100 units from 0 to 100. And maybe we don't want to be able to move across that in 2 seconds. Maybe we want to take a little bit longer. So let's say 35. And that way it would take 3 seconds to move from 0 to 100, guaranteeing smooth transitions no matter where you are and what numbers the game engine is sending Wwise. So let's try it out. Already that is much better.